Well, you guys like car games and truck games and no starts and all that good stuff. I have one for you. Let's play detective / mechanic, and you guys can tell me what you think is going on. And definitely put it in the comments, because this may or may not be a current situation that I am dealing with and I am not very happy about. So, you've heard of Gladdy games. These are big sexy games. So, I'm going to let you guys know what happened. So, Big Sexy had a dead battery. She needed a new one. And this is currently what she is doing. And she's driving me bonkers because I don't know how to fix her. So, key in the ignition. Alright. She recognizes that there's a key. And again, full charged battery, newer alternator. Starter looks atrocious. So, go back. Electrical noises. Let's get rid of the beeping for a minute. No noise. Okay, there's a Mack truck. I'm going to pause you guys. Okay. So, something happens when I turn it, because when I turn it, watch the clock. And occasionally it's getting stuck. Okay, the clock is now gone. Okay, now the clock is back. So, I don't know what's going on. I do not know what is going on. I'm on a bunch of Dodge Ram forums. The ignition cylinder's been funky for a little bit. And foot is on brake, you know. So I was aware of the weirdness of the ignition cylinder for a while. So like that is traditional, take it out. I did not know that one did that. Because that's backing the key out a little bit. This is where it should release. And then this is, I knew about this one because husband cat sometimes will move my truck, and he's terrible about not recognizing where it's at, and he'll pull it out, and then I'll come back to a dead battery if she sits for too long, and I'll get mad. And this whole sticking, you see how it's stuck in like the try to start mode? That's a new problem. Like that just started since I've been messing with it. But basically, for me, I would just open the door. Pacha. And I would say, okay, key is out, still making noise. Key is out, not making noise. That is correct position. Back it out. Like I said, did not know that was going on. That's the position that he will commonly take it out in. And leave me with a dead battery. And then just kind of chilling and being stuck like this is a new thing. Okay, so I feel like I need to change out the ignition cylinder here. I feel like I might need to change out the ignition switch. I have, what have I done? Like, this is totally outside of what I normally do because you guys are normally pre-published. So, things that I have done, future videos. So came back to the truck, and the truck was almost dead enough where she wouldn't turn over. So, you know, tongue-in-cheek, make a cranking video because, like, she hadn't been cranked up for, like, 2.5 months because, like, I've been busy, I've been sick, I've had a lot of stuff. Random excuses aside, tried to crank her, didn't work, did not check the status on the battery, recognized that the battery was very much out of warranty, so didn't even see what was going on there. Again, newer alternator, it's a couple years old. Battery, I got a new battery, put the new battery in, and again, filmed all this, so eventually you guys will see it. So cranked up the battery, or cranked up the truck after doing the how-to video on how to install a battery, and truck started, because she like surges to 2,000 RPMs when she first starts. So crank, 2,000 RPMs, dropped out, like just died out. And so cranked again, 2,000 RPMs, dropped out. Cranked again, 2,000 RPMs, dropped out. Cut the how-to video because I was like, clearly something's up with my truck. Tried to restart, or crank it up again, and did the 2,000 RPMs drop, cranked it again, and it sounded like the starter was engaging, so it's turning over, it's attempting, and it sounded like a fuel problem, because it was I was like, okay, that's weird. So I keep in it, turn it off, turn it back, not to cranking, but like aux on, whatever, give the fuel pump some time to do whatever it's going to do, and stops. And then what did it do after that? And then it was like doing nothing. No clicks, no no attempts, not a thing. So then I'm like, okay, now it's acting like it doesn't have enough power to, you know, do the starter. And so check the voltage on the new battery, and the new battery was super low. It was already in weak, and I know from previous experience with the truck that it was low enough where it wasn't going to be able to adequately start the truck. And so put the new battery on charge, because sometimes, you know, you should have a full battery when you get a new battery, but, you know, slow discharges, whatever. So put the truck on charge for a couple hours, and the truck was still registering that the battery was low. And then but no, before that, so came out to check on the status of the battery on charge, and it was saying reversed, bad battery or reversed things. Took a picture as proof for both, for the, you know, the red thing, because I'd never seen the red thing before, like the bad battery, reversed cables, whatever thing, never seen that before. So took a picture, and then took a picture that they were not reversed. Because then I'm thinking, okay, did I just have really bad luck? Did I get a bad battery? What's the deal here? So turned off the battery charger, or unplugged the battery charger, took the stuff off the battery, put the stuff back on the battery for the charger, let it sit for like 2-4 hours, something like that. Came out in the middle of the night, checked the status. It said it was fully charged. And left it and put the charger on another vehicle, because again, super cold winter, vehicle sat for an extremely long amount of time. So that's probably another feature of, this journey, is the gas that's in this truck is super old. It's like it's not super, super old, but it's 2.5 months old. But right now we don't even have crank. We don't even have attempt of turnover or anything like that. So the gas doesn't even come in play. So I'm going to throw some treatment in the gas, and throw some new gas into it. She's currently at a quarter tank of gas. So trying to give you all the variables for any of the questions. And so came back out, tried to start her, nothing. And you guys see what she's doing, and I'll give you another run through on what she is doing. I've been racking my brain on trying to figure out what the problem is. I thought it was a connection issue with the battery terminals. So I have not changed out the battery terminals yet, but I'm going to. I also read up on like the cables between the battery terminals, and the starter, and functional things like the power and stuff. Because the starter requires more power than all of these auxiliary things. Another variable that was in play is that initially, like, the lights would all come on, interior lights would come on, headlights would come on, radio CD player would think it was on, because I ended up putting it in CD mode because it has like the countdown, and the radio was not working. Like the speakers were not working. It did, so I don't know. And then someone recommended to play with my 4-wheel drive, so I put it in neutral while the key's in the ignition, while the CD still thinks that it's on. Coincidental, because I completely forgot the CD was still on. And then I get music when I start playing with my 4-wheel drive, so that was interesting. So as a current status, because I'm not sure if that variable has changed or not, 1 over for aux, or for the on position, and this should be start, and it's on it. So currently still have music. I'm not shooting any codes, which is frustrating. So not shooting any codes. I can hear a hum from somebody, like just a very slight hum. But because it's just me and I don't have anybody out here with me, I can't isolate if it's the fuel pump or if it's the starter. I can't figure out who's making the noise because I'm in here and I can't like jump out. I've jumped out and tried to listen and I haven't been able to figure it out. I tried to use you guys. I set you up in the tire and stuff. I then was able to figure out that there is electronic-y noises that are going on under the hood when I'm trying to start. So there's some type of engagement there. But because I am not there while I'm turning the key, I can't isolate if that's just electronic noises start right now, or right now when I get illumination of all the lights and everything, or if it's when I'm actually trying to crank. I've tapped on the starter, I've tapped on the starter solenoid. I feel like it's, because it should be electronically, and it's so hard to make these videos when you're just like talking to a screen, but I feel like it should be engagement of vehicle when you're in the on position, and then when you're in the cranking position, like you're actually trying to start the vehicle, it should be, with full battery, of course, full battery, calling to the fuel pump, and then when you're trying to crank it, then the starter gets a surge from the battery, and then the cranking starts, flywheel, engine, you're in business. Like just, spark, fuel, oxygen, go. And so I, fuel pump, offering fuel, starter, starting up, flywheel, engine, cylinders going. So because I can't figure out if the hum is from the starter or if the hum is from the fuel pump, I feel like it's the fuel pump. So I feel like the fuel pump is working. And I know that like if the fuel pump was going out, I could give it a couple whacks, and then if it was the fuel pump, but again, I'm not getting a crank. I'm not getting So if I'm not getting a click. So I do not hear a click from the starter solenoid. I am not getting any turnover attempts or starting attempts from the starter. And the hum may or may not be from the fuel pump. I don't know, because I'm not there when it's there, and I don't commonly listen to fuel pumps, so I don't really recognize the sounds of it. So that's where I'm at. So my current thought process, and I don't want to just start throwing parts at it because I have a lot of other stuff that I need to be doing. If I didn't have so many other things going on, then I would just start going through what I think are the things, and I'd start throwing parts at the truck. That's what I do. I mean, it's either you go to a dealership and they throw parts, or a shop, dealership, whatever, they throw parts at it, or you throw parts at it. My time is free for me, so whatever, and I make videos, so it doesn't bother me to do that. But the problem is that I have a bunch of other stuff going on. And the truck was perfect. So the big thing is, the truck was perfectly fine, ran when I parked it, said the old farmer named Michelle Fixit. That's not a farmer. Said the old YouTuber. I'm not that old, but you know what I'm saying? Like, the farmers were always like, oh, it ran fine, whatever, I parked it. Well, you know, and fluids and everything, because, you know, I was like, ooh, maybe I did something bad. Maybe, you know, worst case scenario, scary stuff. Oil's fine. Oil's dirty, but fine. She needs oil change. Transmission, fluids are fine. All of her fluids are fine. Belts are fine, or belt is fine. Hoses are fine. Like, all those things are fine. She previously, you know, I make videos for people, but previously, get under, cranker, she's good. No longer start times, no stutters, no anything stupid at all. Okay, so completely functional, get under and go truck. And I think that's pretty much it. Like, that's just where I'm at, is I don't know what to do. I know what I would like to do, but again, time. I'd like to get this truck back on the road as fast as possible. So if I didn't have all these other commitments that I have to be doing, it would be, and, you know, tell me which one you think would probably be the best thing here. And I know this video is really long, but, you know, you guys want car problem stories, and this is a real life car problem story. So feel very privileged that I am releasing this video super early, because I don't know what's wrong with my truck. And future videos will come. So I would change out the connectors, the battery terminal connectors that connect to the battery. The other variable that I noticed that was really weird and different was that, because I was stupid and I returned the battery for the core charge because I had a different battery, and that battery was wrong. It was undersized. Tried to get the platinum, the Duralast Platinum instead of the Duralast Gold. Currently has the gold in there. I do top tier parts. The Duralast Platinum actually has lower cold cranking amps and all that other stuff, and it was like enough. I wasn't going to downgrade on it, so I made a stupid decision, and I brought the old battery and the old Duralast Gold that I was replacing, that is exactly specs to the one that is in the truck that is fully charged. I brought that one back to AutoZone to get my core charge back when I returned the Duralast Platinum, because it was lower grade and everything else, even though it had the 4-year warranty, and that's the one I wanted to do. There's my random rambling. So what I did notice, because I filmed so much, so you guys are very helpful in all of this stuff, is that with my old battery, my two terminals, my terminal connector, guys, I had a space in the positive connector for the battery, and I had a space in the negative or neutral for the battery. So new battery it's a little bit smaller of a space for the positive. And then what I realized and thought initially was the problem was that this neutral over here was butting up a bunch, and no matter how much I tightened it down, it was still mobile. Okay, so I was like, okay, it's loose terminals. I have also overly cleaned the post on the battery, the terminals on the battery, and I have overly cleaned the existing clamps. So I did find out about battery shimming posts, which I didn't know was a thing because I've never had like a different sizing issue with this, because they're exact same battery, but evidently, you know, shrinkflation, they're wanting to save a little bit of metal. I don't know. So I could shim it. I've tried to shim it. Doesn't really matter. I put the Trailblazer on it and was like jump starting it while trying to do it. Still not a noise. Again, not hearing click from the starter. I'm not really hearing anything going on other than whenever I'm trying to start, that the clock for the radio, like, you know, goes out, like what I showed you guys. So if I was to just start throwing parts at the truck and figure it out as I go and I had more time in my life and less commitments, I would change out the clamps for the battery first, possibly change out the cables for the battery, like the positives and the grounds. I have not checked the grounds. I saw on forums that sometimes there's a grounding problem. So that would be another thing that I would be trying to troubleshoot. I would possibly change out the ignition cylinder. I'm a little apprehensive about doing that because then I get stuck with a key that doesn't have a key fob. Oh, also weird thing that's going on that I noticed. I mean, I don't know if she knows that her hood is up. I'm gonna put her hood down really quick. But she won't lock with her key fob. So, give me a second. Okay, so, assuming that the battery still works, nothing for lock. I have the other one too. Doors do lock. Unlock does not work on either one. Unlock, oh yeah, I guess we can run a real life test really quick. I'm gonna roll the window down so I don't get locked out of my truck just in case she's being weird. Yeah, I'm scatterbrained, whatever. Alright, so normally, because one of these key batteries was not working, and I thought that maybe that was the problem too, because there's a lockout mode that this truck will do where they're like, hey, somebody's trying to steal me. So there's actually a little bitty light that will illuminate if it thinks that it's being stolen or something. It's like an anti-theft mode and you're supposed to have to take it to the dealership, blah, 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 blah. I thought, oh goodness, maybe I used the wrong thing. And like, because it said that like if the battery was fully drained, and then somebody tries to start it without the key fob, then it gets grumpy and it thinks it's being stolen. So then it's in like stolen mode or immobilized mode. So there's a limp mode for these trucks, which I've found out about and conquered twice. And then there's an immobilizer mode that it's not doing because they don't have that little light. And I'll show you guys what that light is in the event that you have one of these trucks. I love this truck. But when she has something happen, then it just takes forever. So I'm going to manually lock the doors and then I'm going to use the key. And if her alarm goes off, that is what she normally does if I'm not using these guys. Locking. Truck is locked. that's not what she normally does. So that's new and weird, because normally if I lock, if I bring the wrong key with me because I haven't had a chance to change out the battery, it's because the battery or the key fob, that's all stripped out, and it took too much time. So one of these, I think that, I don't know which one it is. One is cleaner and one is dirtier, and one has a key and one does not, because my husband can't, for some reason. Like, I can keep this forever, but for some reason on both of the modeled keys like this, he's broken both of them like this. So at some point when I have more time, I'm going to change them out. So maybe it's deprogrammed from the key fob? I don't know. Anyways, normally if I lock it and then I have to open it with the key, it alarms. And it will not stop alarming until I put the key in the ignition and I turn the truck on. Even just sticking the key in there doesn't normally work. She has to crank and turn on. The immobilizer light, because I thought that maybe she was in immobilization mode. The immobilizer light is normally supposed to be this one, which doesn't even illuminate when I just stick stuff in. So these are all the lights that I have, which is not a lot. And so this one, that one, and this one are normally on because I've got a broken short underneath the truck that I have fixed a couple times, and then it's re-broken. It's just stupid. Engine light is on, but it's only on because of whatever thing. I don't know. I feel like normally I have more lights that will show up whenever I'm attempting to start it. Maybe it's just those. I don't know. I'd have to look at other videos. So if I was to throw parts of the truck, terminals, battery cables, check the grounds, clean the grounds. There's a TIPM or TIMP. No, I think it's TIPM because I think it's like temp M is how my brain is keeping it. Because if you're going to say starter relay, or any relay, this generation does not have relays according to the people in the Ram forums, the Dodge Ram forums for this generation truck. So it's that TIPM system. So that's a few $100. Supposed to not be a big pain in the butt to change it out, but whatevs, because they, for some reason, got rid of the relays. So there's no starter relay for this truck. And you would have to change out that whole thing if there's an issue. I did check all of my fuses. All of my fuses are good. And then whatever those little guys are called that are in there that are not relays, those are all good. I literally checked every single one. So I do the battery connectors, the cables, check and clean the grounds. Plus or minus, I haven't done any tests. I don't have a multimeter or anything here. That kind of stuff is elsewhere. So we're going to get a multimeter for over here. So I haven't done any checking with the starter or starter solenoid. To my knowledge, and if you have this truck and there's a secondary starter solenoid that's under the hood, to my knowledge, current time, there's a starter and the starter solenoid on it as, one thing. But again, I feel like it's before the starter because I'm not getting anything. I've whacked on the starter and the starter solenoid several times, attempted to start after. I know it's best if you have somebody trying to crank the truck up while you're doing that. I may try to do that today. If that ends up being the thing that fixes the problem, fantastic. Air filter's fine. I don't see any obvious issues with my fuel lines. That's been suggested to me. Check your fuel lines. My fuel lines are fine. I don't see any cracking or anything like that. I have visually inspected the wires. It doesn't seem like there's any wire issues. I see no green fuzzy crap on any of the wires. I don't see any obvious breaks. When I was like researching, right before I started this video, when I was researching, my truck steering wheel is supposed to lock. Ugh! It is not locking. I don't know if it normally does or not because I don't typically make my steering wheel things lock. Like, that's something from teenage years. Like, I had a Caprice that was constantly locking, and you'd have to like move it or jiggle it and then start the turn the key for the ignition. So I don't know what it normally does with that because I never play with the steering wheel. I feel like that's all I've got. If I had more parts, or if I had more time, it would be clamps, replace battery cables, and, you know, clearly if I'm replacing the battery cables, then I would be checking my grounds, cleaning throughout. And then, you know, I'd have to stick them on the starter, and then while I was at the starter, I'd probably just replace the starter. Starters are supposed to go out, but for these trucks, based off of research, like 90,000 miles to 175,000 miles. She's currently at 175,802 miles. Fuel pumps, you know, can also go out for these trucks, like 125 to 175. Knock on a Ram. I've never had a fuel pump go out on me. I changed the Trailblazers preventatively because I was in there for something else. Had to drop the tank and stuff. So I do those things in the ignition cylinder. I would change that. And then I would change the ignition switch. I don't know how to hotwire. I really don't want to cut wires for test. I am going to try to have somebody, if I can grab a neighbor or somebody, to try to crank the truck while I bang on the starter. I'll do that today. And then the other thing would be trying to, the starter's in a really funky spot, and I am parked on the gravel going downhill. So I am going to try to jump the starter solenoid, or power the starter solenoid with the key in the ignition. But again, I don't know the trustworthiness of that, so I'd rather have a second person to help, like try to crank while I'm doing that. I read about being able to get the yellow wire that goes to the starter, which, based off of electrical stuff for houses, it seems like the yellow wire goes from the starter solenoid up and over, like goes up to the battery, because it also has, you know, the big red wire that goes to the starter. So the yellow wire goes and then veers off over here. So I have the head of those. I just don't want to clip wires and then have another issue with said wires. But I could clip it and then just connect it directly to the battery, because it should be that it goes up like it's going to the battery, and then it's looped so you can grab it if you need to, and then it goes to the ignition switch, and when the ignition cylinder engages and says, yes, this key belongs to this truck, then it should allow the starter or ignition switch to engage and connect that circuit to power the starter, which would give me the noise if I didn't have fuel. So that's why I'm stuck in this realm of, I feel like this is either a wires issue with grounds or something like that, or it's a ignition issue and not completely a starter issue, because most of the time, and I've never had a starter go out on me either, most of the time the starter if you're whacking it, starter solenoid, whatever, if you're whacking it, it's normally going to free up and go. And it's not doing that. And you would hear grinding, you would hear a click, something. It's not making any noise. And I know that that's the universal sign of like the starter is bad, but like I feel like the starter is not being informed of what the truck's doing, if that makes sense. And if I can get a confirmation that the starter is getting signal of like, hey, start your crap, then it's like, okay, then it's the starter. That's a no-brainer. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So if I don't figure it out today, like, I'm going to release this video. Like, this is a real life video. I was going to do the live thing, but the truck is far enough away from the house where it's going to be all digitalized and everything else. And so I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'll make a video. That way you guys can know what's going on with my truck. And hopefully, because, you know, some of you guys in the comments, like, are telling me that you're mechanics or whatever. Give me your mechanical knowledge. Give me some recommendations, because if it's not figured out today, I have appointments that I have to do. So the poor truck is just going to sit until I can get back to it. So don't get grumpy with me, because there's some people that have made suggestions on the Trailblazer, and I haven't, because it was cold. I haven't been able to get to that point. I didn't know it's a super long video, but whatever. So don't get mad if it's like I can't just do it. But if you were me to cut time and to cut throwing parts at the truck, what would you do to get it going, and to isolate and figure out what your stuff is? Also, spark plug should not need to be changed. Ignition coil should be fine, and even if you're not gonna have all ignition coils go out at the same time. So that's where I'm at. So help Michelle fix it at a faster rate, because I'm open to suggestions at this point. Yeah. And if your truck has done something similar, then let me know. And lights work and everything else works. I don't know. All the lights are on and nobody's home. So you guys like and subscribe. Have a great day. And I guess I'll make an exception for this video, where if you guys ask me if I've done something, I will try my best to respond at a faster rate. But just know that if you are commenting and if you are trying to help with the video or with the troubleshooting of the truck, I probably will not still be with the truck. So I will only be able to tell you things that I've done with the truck prior to leaving the truck, and I will not be able to do any more testing on the truck until I am able to, until it's warm enough for me to be able to do it, and I get done with my other things that I have to do. You know, it's kind of like if one of your trucks goes out and you have to like work Monday through Friday and then you got the weekend for it. It's kind of like that, but it's not that I'm going to be here on the weekend, because my weekends are typically other stuff. So it's basically like a coincidental timing thing. So I'll tell you, ask me, and if I know what it's done, I'll fill you guys in the comments. So like and subscribe. Have a great day. Please help. Bye.